Sanding is the foundation when finishing a gun stock and requires great attention to detail. Let me show you my sanding technique. This stock has been both pillar and glass bedded, and all of the shaping has been completed. You can see there are lots of file marks in the wood from the shaping process. To remove them, I'm using high-quality sandpaper, 100, 150, and 220 grit, along with a wooden sanding block. It's important to follow the sanding chart included in the Miles Gilbert stock finishing kit, as it provides a systematic process that helps prevent skipping over any areas of the stock. I start by wrapping the 100 grit paper around the sanding block, securing it with a piece of masking tape. A hard backer is critical to ensure level sanding, preventing waves in the wood that would show up after finishing. We start by sanding the comb using long, smooth strokes, which helps prevent dishing out small areas. It's important to remove all the file marks left from the shaping process. Notice that I'm sanding right over the butt pad. It's critical to examine each area before moving on to ensure that the sanding is complete. The toe line area is next. I'm leaving the sling swivel in place for now to protect the edges of the inletting. Now I can work the right side of the buttstock. Notice that I'm always sanding with the grain, never across it. The rounded edge of my backer is perfect for sanding the flutes. The cheek piece requires a little extra attention. Remember that 100 grit sandpaper can remove a lot of wood in a hurry, and we don't want to round over the edges. When the sandpaper stops cutting, I simply tear off the worn part, exposing a fresh surface. Now I can sand the top and bottom sides of the pistol grip. I'm leaving the trigger guard in place for now to preserve the edges of the inletting. This radius behind the grip cap can be a little tricky. I like to use the rounded edge of my backer for this job, although a round file also makes a good backer when sanding. The sides of the grip come next. Now we're ready to sand the forend. I always start with the top rails. Remember to use long strokes. Oversanding one spot here will certainly show up in the final finish. Don't worry about small knot holes such as this one. We'll take care of these after sanding. The forend tip is last. It takes a little extra effort to sand the rounded tip, so be patient. After the entire stock has been sanded, a light pass with 100 grit paper, using my hand as a backer, blends everything together. This is a good time to examine the stock under bright sunlight, looking for any mist or lightly sanded areas that need additional work. When the first sanding is complete, we're ready to raise the grain. Shaping using files and rasp compresses wood fibers into the grain. With some fresh water and a clean paper towel, I'll lightly wet the stock and dry it with a heat gun. As the wood dries, the compressed fibers raise out of the grain and stick out like a sore thumb. You can easily feel these fibers with your hand. They will be removed during the next sanding. I'll sand the stock again using 150 grit paper. This is a lighter sanding just to remove all of the 100 grit scratches. That looks pretty good. Another wetting of the stock and quickly drying will raise the grain a second time. The last sanding is with 220 grit paper. This is another light sanding to remove scratches from the previous grit. With the final grit, we carefully sand the swivel stud inletting and the bolt notch, as well as the trigger guard, being careful to preserve the edges. When this sanding is complete, we raise the grain one last time. The next step is to repair any natural wood imperfections.